Hello, how are you? Today I brought you a wonderful recipe to replace bread at breakfast or for your afternoon snack. This recipe is very low in carbs, so it's great if you're on a low-carb diet to lose weight if you want to control your blood sugar. This recipe is also vegan. It doesn't have milk, it doesn't have eggs, it doesn't have any kind of flour, it doesn't have gluten. You're going to love it. It's very easy to make and has a very flavorful, delicious taste. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. If you love recipes that are easy, quick, and healthy, you're going to love this channel. Go ahead and subscribe. Remember to turn on the notification bell to get updates. I have new videos every day. You're going to love them. Let's get started with our recipe. Remember that the ingredients, quantities, and nutritional information are all listed below in the description. So the first ingredient I have here is my flaxseed. I'm going to make a flour out of this flaxseed by blending it in the food processor. If you've already made the flour, you can use that. I don't really recommend using store-bought flaxseed flour because that's where the problem with flaxseed lies for many people. With that flour, since the seed's shell has already been broken and it's come into contact with oxygen, it ends up becoming a bit rancid because the fat oxidizes, and that gives it the bitter taste that many people complain about with flaxseed. Plus, you lose some of those healthy fats that get oxidized. So, ideally, you should grind the flaxseed right before making the recipe, or do it like I'm doing here just to show you and make it clearer. I'm using brown flaxseed, but you can use golden flaxseed or whichever type you prefer. In fact, I have a video here on the channel where I talk more about the benefits of flaxseed and the difference between brown and golden flaxseed. Remember that flaxseed on its own is an extremely rich source of fiber, packed with ultra-healthy fats, a precursor to omega-3, excellent for gut health, with anti-inflammatory fats that help with weight loss. So it's really very healthy. Now I'm going to add the salt to the flaxseed, and I'll go ahead and add the seasonings as well. If you want to substitute flaxseed with chia, that works well too. Some people are more resistant to flaxseed, or have chia at home. You can use chia in the same proportion. I'm going to add a bit of cumin here, which will also help with the flavor. Remember that cumin is also thermogenic, it speeds up the metabolism, and besides having a wonderful taste, it's very anti-inflammatory. It's all good. I have a video talking about the benefits of cumin and also about cumin water for weight loss, because it helps activate the metabolism. I'll leave it for you down below in the description. And I'm also going to add my dehydrated garlic here. If you don't have dehydrated garlic and want to use a clove of garlic, I suggest you grate it or crush it before blending, so it gets more processed. Let's blend this really well now to mix it thoroughly, and remember that I have a playlist here on the channel with low-carb recipes, healthy recipes for breakfast, for afternoon snacks. I'll leave it down below in the description for you. Before blending, I want to remind you that these seasonings here are optional. The cumin, the garlic, so if you want, you can leave them out, no problem, because there will still be a special seasoning later. So let's blend this well now. Look, so you blend it until it truly turns into a fine flour, and I am going to transfer this flour over here. You really don't even need to clean the food processor because everything is going into the very same recipe. I'm just going to scrape the bottom here because when we grind these seeds, the bottom part always ends up getting more processed. And look, it's practical. You don't need to wash anything. I'm going to put our onion into the same food processor. I've already cut it into much smaller, more manageable pieces to help the processor more efficiently blend the onion. And I'm going to prepare something like an onion juice here so we can mix it in later. I always prefer to process the flaxseed first because this way allows us to blend both the flaxseed and the onion much better and more effectively. So now that the onion is more processed, I'm going to add our seasoned flaxseed back in and mix it all together again. If you don't want to, you don't have to use a food processor, you can do it by hand. But since everything is already here, I think it's even more practical. So I'm going to blend it until it gets more homogeneous. I've mixed everything together. Now I'm going to get the things we need to bake this dough. You can already see that it's forming, look, a real dough-like consistency. So now all that's left is to grab everything so we can get organized and bake this dough. Hold on, I'm going to get everything set up here. To make it even more practical, I'm going to bake this in the microwave. If you want, you can certainly bake it in a conventional oven, but I'm personally going to use the microwave for this. I grabbed a standard ice cream scoop here, and I'm going to make our dough much more compact and then put it into this bowl so that it keeps its shape, especially since it contains flaxseed and everything else. Look closely, it turned out really nice and perfectly formed. Now I'm going to put it in the microwave to bake, and I'll bake them one at a time. So the time I mention here will be for baking each bread individually. Of course, if you want to use a bigger baking tray and bake everything at once, that will work too. Tell me how you prefer it. I think it's easier this way, in individual portions. So I'm going to take this to the microwave now, and I'll be right back. Hold on. Look, I've already baked 3 here to start with, and there are 2 more left to bake. So at this size, it made 5. The yield will depend on the size you make, and in the microwave, it was 2 minutes for each one. Check out this texture. Look how wonderful this low-carb bread is. Make it and you'll love it. If you bake them all at once, it should take about 3 to 3.5 minutes because I baked them one by one in that container to get this rounder shape. Tell me what you're going to eat this bread with. The smell is amazing, that onion aroma, so flavorful, you're going to love it. Remember to check out my playlist of low-carb breads, of healthy breads. I'll leave it down below in the description for you. Also, don't forget to like the video because that really helps me out. And share this delicious recipe with someone who'll enjoy it, with someone who needs it. Let's spread this chain of goodness together. That's what I want here on the channel. Now let's try it. The texture is just amazing, and the seasoning is incredible. Make it, you're going to love it. See you next time. Bye!